Hello and welcome back. You already know this is the Sauna series brought to you by myself, Joseph. And today we're going to be talking about health. The reason why I want to talk about this is because there's been a lot of commotion about the new strain of the coronavirus going around. And I wanted to bring some attention of, you know, how to and I just want to promote some well being to my followers and listeners so that you guys um, are taking care of yourselves properly this coming winter, because we're already in it and we're going to be getting to the thick of it soon. It's going to be a cold one. So everybody, kick it back and get ready to hear what I have to say, because I'm going to get very specific with my lifestyle, vegan lifestyle, holistic lifestyle, and potential benefits that you could have if you make some changes to your life to incorporate these things. Now, health in general is a very broad topic, so if I don't cover everything, feel free to leave a comment or make make it known to me. You can follow me on Instagram. What did I skip out on? But what I really want to talk about are the types of health. There's physical well-being, which is your actual body, injuries, sick illnesses, all that. Then you have an emotional well-being. This is mental. This has to do a lot with moods, any mental illnesses, bipolar disorder, the schizophrenia, there's depression, anxiety, all of those can factor into your emotions. And you have control of your emotions, but you have to, even if you do have a mental illness, you have to know what you have control over, and you need to take control of that in order to feel emotionally well. As well as spiritual, as the other side of mental health. And not a lot of people are spiritual. Some people are not at all. And it's all, depending on you as a person. You could have been raised to be spiritual or not, and you could have grown in or out of it. If you were raised to be spiritual, maybe you didn't like how you were raised, or maybe you just never really aligned yourself with it. But to me, it's definitely a whole another component of your mental health that doesn't even come close to your emotions, because I think your spirit is something that you can't physically grasp. So it's a health that isn't physical, nor emotional, because it's your spirit, it's your mind, but there's different ways to condition it rather than your emotions. But like I said, we'll get deeper into that, because I want to talk about my lifestyle. I am vegan, like I said. I'm very environmentally conscious, and that, plays a big part into my life, because the energy that I'm getting, I'm trying to get from clean sources. And that has pretty much a lot to do with everything that goes on in my life. What I want to say about energy itself is that energies have different qualities, whether it be good or bad, positive or negative. You can look at the quality of energy based off of the source of the energy. It's like looking at an LED light versus a regular light. It's not the best analogy, but you get a yellow versus a bright, strong white. So if you're composed of, strong energy, then as an individual, you will output strong energy. And strong energy could just be nutritious food. It doesn't necessarily have to be, environmentally conscious. But the reason why I pick, the environment over myself is that it's hard to word it, but I have a specific awareness for my surroundings. And if I want to be surrounded by positivity and good energy, and like I said, strong energy, I'm going to choose stuff that strengthens the environment, that protects the environment, that saves the environment. So before I dive too deep into that, I want to, talk more about energy itself specifically. And we all originated from the same source. You know, you can believe if God created the universe or not, but that's a whole nother podcast, actually. I would love to dive deeper into that, but it has to be known. If you don't believe this, then what else? I don't know what you would believe, but we all come from the same origin. The creation of the universe. You could trace all of our existences as far back to that, and then it's how many great grandparents turn into great 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 grandparents in order for us to be here today. A lot had to happen. There is a natural energy. Energy that's rooted in that origin of the universe. And I believe plants, some of them, being the longest living things to exist on this planet, with a lot more research being done on them, recently. But I think plants, I have a certain respect for, because they're that natural energy that's been on this planet, whereas new types of GMO products, I personally don't even consider plants, because what exactly are we changing from what originated? I'd rather go with what originated. To me, that's natural. To me, if you're going to change the original formula for example, for a pizza sauce recipe, then I wouldn't even think that you were eating pizza. You could slap a different name on it. You could call it Mexican pizza or whatever. But to me, I think it's just a whole different item altogether. And why bother even calling it pizza at this point? Why not just call it nachos? It's not the best analogy, because I'm terrible at giving analogies, but that's just how I view things. So energy, you could have, a synthetic energy, and a lot of things are made synthetically now just because it's possible. But just because it's possible, does that mean that it's necessary? Does that mean that it's right ethically? Does that mean that it's better or even comparable to its natural form? Just being aware, though, that energy could be natural or could be synthetic, which to me, synthetic, I could almost describe it as not even being real energy, but it is still real energy. It just wasn't created naturally. And so that's why I don't consider GMOs to be natural energy. And a GMO is just a genetically modified organism. It could be anything from, seedless watermelon to, strawberries or seedless grapes. They just want to change the biological composition of plants for, I don't know what reason. There's plenty of reasons, but to me, none of them validate what the actual science does to them. There's a physical energy that you exert yourself, as well as a spiritual energy. And that spiritual energy is energy that is the energy is pretty much what you are exposed to, is a good way of putting it. You have to protect your spirit by watching, what you consume, not just food wise, but also content wise. And so that's why I want to talk about health today. On top of the whole coronavirus craziness, I wanted to really give you guys some wholesome content that could hopefully help you as well as, your spirit and your physical well-being. And, what you are exposed to affects your spiritual health, not necessarily what you consume, but technically you do consume what you're exposed to. So just be aware that just like, your physical health is dependent on what you consume, so is your spiritual. And it's not just split up into physical and spiritual, but physical, energy could be like strength. So there's like physical, there's even more subsets, you could put it that way. In physical energy you have strength. In spiritual energy you have awareness, intellect. Physical could be creative, but that's kind of borderline because creativity, in my opinion, is bringing thoughts and ideas to life, bringing your spirit to life almost. But you have to make yourself physical, if that makes any sense. You have to make your spirit physical, if that makes any sense. So it's almost like the translation. And people like say like they're expressing themselves through fashion, or they're expressing themselves through their art, and that's creative energy. For me, it's expressing your spirit. But what they mean by themselves, they mean is the part of them that nobody gets to see, and that's not their physical being. However, they're trying to bring the part that we can't see into the physical realm. And so creative energy is a very potent type of energy because of what it deals with and translating your spirit into our reality. So I know I got a little bit off topic because I wanted to talk about myself. Maybe you guys can use me as an example. I am getting over an illness right now, and the whole time I was ill, I remained vegan. I've been vegan for over a year now, and I've witnessed a lot of changes in all different types of health categories: physical, emotional, and spiritual. For physically, I feel like my digestive system has reset itself. It takes a lot less of my physical energy to digest food. I find myself more hungry because whatever I digest, it digests quicker. It's not, taking as much effort to digest, as well as time. And I think that since I'm only eating plant-based foods, that all these plants have such good benefits for me, because they're nutrient rich, and my nutrition is definitely up. I do take supplements to aid with certain vitamins and minerals that I'm missing, but that could be fixed just by increasing quantities of certain vegetables that I eat. It's just very hard when all you can eat is vegetables, because you like some variety and to switch it up, but certain vegetables have great amounts of potassium or zinc, for example, or just any mineral that you would need. And vitamin C, like, what are you gonna do, eat sweet potatoes for vitamin C? Yes, you can, but everybody goes to orange juice because it's a staple. And I'm not saying I get bored of orange juice, but not knowing that sweet potatoes have vitamin C as well, when I was sick, I would have eaten more sweet potatoes and not just the orange juice, considering those are the only two things that vegan could eat for vitamin C. Well, not the only two, but the two with the most prominent sources. And I didn't know about the sweet potatoes, and I could have been doubling my intake instead of just doubling my intake of orange juice. I could have, I ate my regular amount of orange juice and just added sweet potatoes on top. And that variety would have given me plenty of other nutrients that oranges don't have, or the sweet potatoes don't have. And since I'm spending less time digesting, that leads to some emotional changes. I get more clarity because I'm not sitting there feeling like I can't do anything. I really feel like less fatigued, and because of that, like I said, my mind is a lot sharper, and everything is just more clear to me. I could think, my whole thought process and the way I form emotions are differently. I'm way happier. I could say that very easily. And I have developed a different type of strength. Um, when you go to a bar and you drink a lot, you might get a little angry over something that wouldn't bother you if you were sober, and all of a sudden just start flipping out, and that anger kind of gives you a heightened sense of, adrenaline or whatever it is that makes you think like you're the strongest person in the world. Some people can relate to this. I know this definitely happened to me, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because same thing happens when I'm vegan, well, which is all the time for the most part. I do miss days here and there, but never for animals, more for like dairy products, because there's a spiritual side of the veganism that I'm gonna touch upon after this. But I feel stronger, and it has to do with not just the nutrition that I get from a well-balanced vegan diet, but also with, my mental state, having more willpower, having a clearer mind, having more intelligence. I can attribute it all to being vegan, because what being vegan allows me to do is spend more of my energy on living life and less digesting meat, which never really, besides it tasting good, I never really needed to digest meat, which I just proved to myself after being vegan for over a year. And so spiritually, I would dedicate that willpower and intelligence to spiritual, because those are technically talents, and when you're blessed with a talent, it's your tool to make that skill, work for you, harness that power to the best of your ability. And I think, for me specifically, being vegan allows me to do that with my intelligence and with my willpower and with my mental strength, which, having a strong mind is tough, and it's a whole another podcast, which I keep saying. But it'll be next podcast. I definitely want to talk about the mind. I just don't want to do it without having proficient research. So let's talk about your guys' health. I know you guys wanted to get to this part. What do I have to say for you? What is my advice if you're not a vegan? We could talk specifically about physical health, which is, dieting and nutrition, but also training. I've talked a lot about training in the past. I want to talk about I'll break it down to three kinds of training: cardio, strength, and skill-based training. Cardio, I said first because I think it's essential. You need some form of cardio daily, and not even daily, as frequently as possible. Get some form of cardio in is my advice to you. It will change your life. I longboard, I run, but for me, skating places instead of taking my car, it's necessary, and it does a lot for your organs. It helps move blood through. It helps, clear arteries. It's really good for your heart and lungs. Cardio, very important. Don't miss out every single day. Doesn't matter what your goal is. If you're trying to get bigger and you're scared that cardio is going to make you look smaller, stop being lazy. And if you can't get off the couch, stop being lazy. Go do something that gets your heart rate up, which is the definition of cardio. Just get your heart rate up, get the blood flowing. It'll start moving a lot of things in your body and making sure everything is functioning properly and working at its best capacity. Very necessary for your health. Strength training. Now, it's not as necessary as cardio, but you could say it's just as necessary the way you look at it. Sometimes you need strength to perform certain tasks, whether it be lifting, pushing, pulling. You got to, incorporate those movements into everyday life, in order to become, better at it. And you may not need to move a 50-pound box every single day, or you may be a concrete worker and you're moving 80-pound bags of concrete every single day. It varies person to person, but it doesn't mean that every person shouldn't have the ability to do it in case, of an emergency. You never know what could happen. You never know the strength you will need to survive. So you could look at it as a self-defense, but, self-defense is actually a skill. So I want to put in the skills, but you could have the self-defense down, and you just may be against a stronger opponent that no level of self-defense knowledge will help you in that situation, or you just might be outnumbered. I'm sad I have to say this, but especially if you're a woman, it's very dangerous to be out alone. So, guys, girls, listen up right here. Learn some self-defense and continually get stronger. And not just for that reason. Do it for yourself, and just do it so you have the ability. Maybe, you see somebody who needs help, elderly person or something, go and help them out. But don't go and try to help them out and then you're unable to because you're too frail. All right, and so for some skill-based physical training, these are related to sports. Like I said, self-defense is a sport, martial arts. But some people are born with certain talents, so they get into a sports at a young age. And some people just, fall in love with playing soccer, like myself, for example, or they just enjoy their time playing sports, and they may necessarily not want to bring their talent to their full potential and do it professionally because they were born with a crazy gift, like Michael Jordan. They might just want to, enjoy themselves, and playing sports is what, makes them enjoy life. Some sports have similarities in, the types of skills, like, for example, hockey, lacrosse, and basketball. A lot of people say are similar, and it's similar in terms of, the agility you need, the endurance you need. It's a lot of back and forth because the goals are on opposite sides. You could throw soccer in there, but soccer is a lot more of an open space. And, lacrosse, hockey, basketball, you got defenders in there, and that requires footwork for defense. You do need a lot of agility and footwork for soccer, don't get me wrong. I say specifically for soccer because you're dealing with kicking the ball around. But, being on defense in hockey, you're skating backwards while they're skating forwards at you full speed. Or even in lacrosse, you have people dodging, going left to right. And you got to be able to follow them so that, you don't allow them to have enough space to get a shot off. Even basketball, you need to stay with, if you're on defense, you need to stay with your man, whoever you're guarding, in case he gets the ball. You got to be able to clamp up on him and not let him get the shot off. You don't want to be caught taking the wrong step, because then that's what any person on attack or any person on offense will use to get space from you and get a shot off. So footwork is something that's universal in those sports. But some differences, there's a lot of differences between sports too. For football, you need raw, explosive power. If you're on the defensive side and you're trying to get to the quarterback, you got a whole offensive line in front of you. When that ball is snapped, you need to get up and you need to move them out the way and get to that quarterback, put the pressure on. Even if you're just getting a hand in his face, they're not going to make it easy for you. You're going to have bodies in front of you, a running back in front of you. You might have gone through one O-line and, the O-tackle is there backing up the guard. Or even if you're the running back and you got people trying to tackle you and you just want to push through them, that explosive power is necessarily a strength. It's having a strength, but under a certain stress. You might have somebody on your back trying to pull you down, and you might have nobody in front of you, but if you can't, and you might have your legs free, but if you can't, explode and let that guy lose his grip, then he could continue to pull and drag you down with him. So, raw strength is more of a powerlifting thing. Like maybe a powerlifter can lift heavier than a football player, but a powerlifter can't explode through a tackle just like, a football player can. But that's just training. For nutrition, like I said, stay away from animal products, stay away from GMOs, care about the environment. If you care about your surroundings and you promote good energy, that the surroundings will take care of you. And that's kind of open-ended. Not everything will be provided for you if you just start planting trees everywhere. But if you're aware of the type of energy around you, then you'll 100% definitely be aware of the energy that you're putting into your body. So just be aware of your surroundings and do what you can. If you're doing good for your surroundings, you'll tend to do good for yourself as well, is what I meant to say earlier. Emotionally, you got to put yourself in the best place to succeed in that area. If you know certain things are triggering for you, stay away from those things. If you know certain relationships aren't working for you, are just causing aggravation, don't allow that to happen. Either leave the relationship or work out what you got to work out, but don't just continually allow it to, not make you necessarily upset, but don't let it ruin your emotions. Don't let something that could be good ruin your emotions because you don't know how to handle it. Go figure out what you got to do to take care of whatever, to make sure that the important relationships in your life with family members, with yourself especially, with loved ones, friends, anybody that you care about is taken care of. Don't hold grudges against people. Really, let your spirit free in a positive, loving way, and you'll be surprised at the energy that returns to you. And if you're doing that, you're, like I said, putting yourself in the best position to have your emotions work for you. And, when I talk about the mind, I will talk more about illnesses and how they, provide challenges that you have to face emotionally. But right now I want to talk about spiritual, because I think a lot of answers to life can be found through a spiritual awareness. Get in touch with your spirit. If you don't know what it is, just know it's your existence before you even existed. You have to get in touch with, history, not just your past from when you were alive, but the past of the whole world. You got to understand where your place is in the world. It's very hard to do. I'm pretty much telling you to discover your purpose, but we were all put here on this planet for a reason, and nobody ever tells you the reason. Now, whether or not you figure it out is all completely up to you, but it's not even to say that it's possible to even figure it out. And just when you thought you figured it out, you might get led in a whole another direction and be like, well, it can't be what I thought. I can't be here for the reasons I thought I were if these opportunities are presenting themselves to me now. How I would go about spiritual awareness is definitely meditating, but you have thoughts, and your spirit isn't necessarily your thoughts. So try to get rid of all your thoughts when you're meditating and just feel your existence. Why am I here? Like, you can't ask yourself that question, but it's a feeling when you're just existing. And if you, like I said, ask yourself that question, why am I here? Dig into the past of the world. Just try to find your place in it. And a lot of people like to pray. I'm a Roman Catholic. I like to go to church every Sunday. I think about my whole life, everything that I have and either have or don't have. I always like to be grateful. So that's a very important thing for your spirit. Make sure that you're grateful. No matter if you don't have anything, you can always you can always make an example for somebody who has more or less. So I guess the key aspect is to be grateful and really start to make it a priority. As I started off the podcast with, watch what you consume. If you're listening to this right now, this whole podcast I've hopefully has been wholesome for you. So make sure that you're continuing to consume good content that will help feed your spirit in the right way. That's all I have to say on health. I did ramble a little bit. I did try to concise a lot into this half hour. So if you have any questions, just hit me up on YouTube, Joe the Pizza Guy. Leave a comment. I will get back to every one of you. And also comment or just message me any ideas for future podcasts. And get ready for next week. It's going to be episode 3. We're going to be talking about the mind, and it's going to be a good one. All right. I appreciate you guys for listening until now. You motivated me to keep working hard and doing this and stay healthy. And I hope you guys all stay blessed. And I'm thankful for everyone who listened to this point.